Hey, what's going on, everyone? Um, I had personally, today, August 8th, 2023, a an influence to make a video sharing Torah. Neither things I'm personally comfortable in doing. One, making a video, being on camera. Two, sharing Torah. It's I get I'm pretty self-restrained on sharing Torah. It's very important too. I know that, and that's why I feel I have to. And at the same time, it's also hard as a human being to be sharing very treasured ideas to live by, life-changing things to live by. With that being said, I'd like to get into it. The influence that I had today on the video that I'm making right now is to delve into Likutei Eitzos from Rebbi Nachman, simplified advice. Simplified advice. It's taking advice from all his teachings, bringing it down to as basic, as simple as it can almost be. It could technically be simpler, but it's exactly where it needs to be at. My personal feeling on the Torahs of Likutei Eitzos, what they come to be, are the punchlines for everything that's being said by Rebbi Nachman. And it's always great. It's always great to know, besides for the punchlines and the solution, to know where it's coming from, what's behind it. And one part of us needs both of those. Another part, we just need the medicine. The medicine is the punchline. The first punchline that I'm focusing on two pieces of advice today. One, and both of them are from the section of tzaddik, of a righteous person, of connecting oneself, a regular person, to a righteous person, to a truly righteous person. So in the Likutei Eitzos Tzaddik 120, Rebbi Nachman says over there, one who doesn't listen to and adhere to the words of the true sages can become crazy through this. I'll repeat that. One who doesn't listen to and adhere to the words of the true sages can become crazy through this. Now, that's all. That's the Torah. That's the Pashut advice. That's the simple advice. The saying that we should listen to and we should adhere to the words of the true sages, and we won't be crazy. We will have a settled state of mind. And my personal take on, it's in a negative language of one who doesn't listen to and doesn't adhere to. It could have been in a positive language of one should listen to and adhere to one is required to listen and adhere to the words of the true sages, thus enabling one not to become crazy. So it could have been said like that, but it was said from a negative point of view because we approach this idea, I feel, as human beings, often many of us, if someone comes to us and tells us, listen to me and you should obey my words, as soon as you're directing a person in such a way, you already lost them. No human being is ever inclined to do something based on being given a directed command. It's very hard for us to take upon. It's very hard for us to, even if it's right, it's like, well, you came at me very straightforward, very direct, and now that you came from such way, I feel a bit threatened, and I don't want to speak of the matter. I don't want to hear of the matter. I want to move forward in my life. I don't care. At that point on, the person isn't listening to what you say. Now, what it comes to be with the tzaddikim. First off, personally myself, when going to a tzaddik, a truly righteous person, to get their advice, to make a connection with them, they're a tzaddik because their answer is always pleasant to the soul. You'll never encounter a tzaddik in a way that they're not speaking to the innermost point of a Jew's soul, of any person's soul. They're always seeing the good in a person, and they always, they're a judge of a person favorably, and they see every Jew as being above themselves. They find something. Every tzaddik searches within themselves to find something that makes that Jew that they're looking at, that's coming to them for advice. They're looking for something within themselves that makes them worse than that person that's standing in front of them. In which way a person then can only give the best of themselves for. The tzaddikim, the truly righteous, are completely self-sacrificing for God and Bnei Israel, children of Israel, Hashem's children, in every possible way. Now, getting back to the piece of advice, practically the becoming crazy part of it is that without people that live in a state of mind as well as experience that is of the utmost clarity, in which there exists, where everything is nullified, where their self-ego is completely nullified, and they have no evil inclination at all, and anyone can see this. It's you're then approaching someone that wants the best for you, is going to give you the best, and their objective is unbiased. They're not getting anything out of it for themselves. They're only giving back to their father, they're only giving back to his children, and that's all they want to do. So they're going to give you the best. At the same time, they're not necessarily your best friend that will sugarcoat something for you and make something sound a bit nicer and less harsh because you may not just take. They're coming from a from a place where, to the tzaddikim, how I had a friend once ask me, that isn't necessarily so associated but would like to be. He asked me once, how does a person even know the difference between good and bad? And the answer is it's a very difficult thing for a regular person living in this world. It's a difficult thing to know the difference between good and bad. There's so much influences, there's so much different things going on, so many different people saying this thing is good, this thing is bad, don't do this, don't do that, smoking's good, smoking's like. The world is filled with opinions, and you can easily get lost in any one of them. Now, what the Torah and the tzaddikim come to teach us is that good and bad, by the tzaddikim, and it will be clarified for us, is so clarified for them, and it will be so clarified for us, that it will be for us differentiating between what is black and what is white, between the colors of what is black and what is white. Now, it's clearly obvious. Day and night, it's clearly obvious. We're in a time where we've been existing within a time where there's been a build-up, a lot of confusion, a lot of getting people's minds worked up and thinking, and just all the time different ideas being just jammed into a person's head, and a person can't think straight then. And if you're being reliant on yourself for your best advice, you're probably the wrong person to go to, because each person only has their own self-interest involved, and most people live with their own ego. And when we do that, it's a combination that is just not going to work out the best. It lands us up in horrible places, and it's the Indian, the idea of going to a truly righteous person and expressing oneself in a way that you're wanting to receive in order to enhance a person's living in this world and focus and to keep going forward and straight and not veering left or right. It's a very hard thing for one to bring themselves to nullify oneself in front of the tzaddik. But you can either begin I feel like the ikka void, the main work that is involved from this Eitzah, from this advice, is even if a person is not adhering, not obeying, not adhering to the words of the tzaddikim, but there is little as just only listening, that's in of itself enough to be holding on to this is getting into the next Torah that we're going into, but this is enough on its own to keep a person settled down and keep our heads focused and to not lose ourselves. Saying that, there's much more that can be said on this Inyan, on this idea. But we'll move on to the next Inyan, and B'ezras Hashem, with the help of Him, we'll tie it all in together, and I'll speak on my mind as I do. And with this next Inyan, Likutei Eitzah Sadik 116, it's a little bit longer than the first piece of advice, and then we have where it's sourced from, and we have that source in Sichas Haran and Sichas Haran 23, and we're going to go through it, and we'll see then I'll discuss, at least within myself and out loud, of what it's saying and where this is going. Says Likutei Eitzah Sadik 116. In the future it is written, it's written in Yoav, that to grasp the corners, Yoav 38:13, to grasp the corners of the earth, and the wicked will be shaken off from it. End quote. However, one who is close to a truly righteous person, then he will hold on to and cling to the righteous one, and he will remain steadfast and will not be shaken off with the wicked. So that's kind of because I've been over this a few times, that's what I was saying before, is it's a chiddush, it's an idea that just the listening is enough to hold a person from when the wicked will be shaken off from the world. Which, if you think of in a literal sense, is completely just like mind-boggling, blowing, like that such a thing could happen. It's going to happen. How it happens, that's up to our imagination, and when it happens, we'll know truly what it is that's happening. Carrying on after the pasuk, however, one who is close to a true righteous person, he'll hold on to and cling to the righteous one. He'll remain steadfast, will not be shaken off. Yeah, the tzaddikim have already been mevatel. They've already nullified the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. They already got rid of that. They already live in a place of yeshuva das, settlement of the mind, settling of the mind, where you can be pretty much at the greatest the mind can possibly be. You could be in the greatest spiritual heights. You can have your minds, your thoughts settled in the greatest of thoughts and the greatest of heights, as well as remain down here in this lower realm and be connected to everything that is happening around us. And the strength that they have is very unknowable to many human beings. It's very hard for us. There's not in our time. In terms of how many people there are in the world, even if you want to go down to Jews and how many are truly righteous, it's a very small number. Now in the future, in the times of the future, where Mashiach will be here and will have redemption, so everyone's going to be a tzaddik. Every Neshama Yisrael is going to be truly righteous. That's we learn from Rebbi Nachman of Breslov and Likutei Halachos on last week's parsha Akev, that the resurrection of the dead, will be humility. It will be humbling, which is the inyan of a tzaddik, it's the idea of a tzaddik, of being most completely humble, like Moshe Rabbeinu. We'll all be in the most humble we could possibly be, just like Moshe Rabbeinu was. In all our own ways, then we'll be reflecting a different aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu. This is also a very crazy thing to think about and to contemplate. Moses, our greatest leader. Now, coming off of that advice, so we have here a pasuk from Yov, to grasp the corners of the earth, the wicked will be shaken off from it, and that basically one that is close to a righteous person, that you'll hold on to him and you'll cling to him, you remain steadfast, you won't be shaken off with the wicked. That's to say also we're not all perfectly righteous, and we're not all the most wicked of people, but a general person has both good and bad within them, and every person that ever lives, as we know from our sages, has at least one sin to their name. That doesn't mean we're meant to try and just because we've accumulated this one sin, so we should take on 2 sins and 3 sins. Adarabah, the other way around. It needs to be, we take on one mitzvah, we do one mitzvah, we do one commandment, one thing out of love and fear for God, and we do another, and it builds up. It's the aspect of the same thing. Anyhow, carrying on further, the sichos are on 23. It goes as follows. He answered and said, "The compassion of this world everyone sees, and because of this, everyone chases after this world." The compassion of this world everyone sees. We all see the compassion of this world. So everyone chases after this compassion of the world. For they see when a person is hungry and thirsty, and the like, which is very hard for him. Now, it's very hard for us as human beings to see another human being thirsty or hungry, or going through any issue. It's very hard, and there is great compassion on him. There's great compassion. You see a person lying on the side of the street with a sleeping bag or cardboard box, and you feel like you want to do something. It's a human being. It's someone's father, it's someone's child, it's someone else. It's someone else. You have people living in your home, living in your bed, sleeping warmly, have the AC going, and you feel bad for this person. You feel compassionate. You feel compassion towards them. And so similarly, one who goes naked and barefoot, there is great compassion on him. If you see someone out on the street and they're running around trying to find clothes, they don't have clothes, they're not covered, their bodies aren't covered by anything, so you're gonna want to help that person out. You're gonna take off your own jacket, give it to them, You got an extra pair of pants. You run into Macy's. You go Woolworths, wherever. You go grab that person a pair of pants, a coat, something to put over. You show compassion for them. You feel compassion for them. Now the Sikha continues. However, one who has eyes and sees the greatness of the compassion that exists for the souls in the world to come, for there in the world to come, the time of the redemption, there are people who go literally naked, and it is impossible to have any compassion on them at all. That's a different tone from what we've heard before. And it continues, for in this world, when a person is naked without clothing, it is possible to collect donations for him and make a kaftan, make a coat, make some type of clothing for him. But in the world to come, one who goes and so I said that for there is no no compassion helps. In the time of the redemption, when a person is literally walking around naked, there is no compassion can help him. Because what continues Sichasaran? Because what clothing does he need? Only the clothing of Torah and mitzvahs, of learning Torah and being davek, being attached to Hashem's Torah, and performing mitzvahs, fulfilling His commandments. That's the clothing that a person needs. And for this compassion does not help them. Does not help there. In the world to come, when a person is literally naked and you're going to offer them clothes, it doesn't help. It's not going to help them because that's not what they need to cover up, to cover up the nakedness, to enclose the nakedness. Carries on Sichasaran. But one who merits to draw close to a true tzaddik, to a truly righteous person, he can run to the tzaddik, he can run to the truly righteous person and take from him some clothing to dress himself. He can take from him some clothing. He can throw him a bone. A tzaddik can throw us a bone. He could give us a shutua. A tzaddik can give us something substantial in which it's enough to keep us covered up. Need more than a shoe to have ourselves covered up, and that's in this present day time. In the time that's to come, we're referring here to Torah and mitzvahs. To the tzaddik will tell you, perform this mitzvah, do such a, learn this Torah, do such a deed, and the side of merit will change for a person. They'll live on the side of merit. They'll have merit because they live by this at least one thing in which the tzaddik, in which the truly righteous gives him. Carrying on the sikha. Again, I heard his holy conversation similar to this, that he said, in the world to come, several people are laid outside and they scream loudly, give us something to eat. And they come to them and say, here, you have food and drink, eat and drink. But they reply, no, we do not need this food, rather we need food and drink of Torah and service of God. And similarly, several naked people are laid outside and they also scream greatly, give us something to cover ourselves with. And they come to them and say, here, you have clothes. Here's clothes. But they reply, no, we do not need these clothes at all. Rather, we need mitzvahs and good deeds to dress ourselves with. Now, at the end of the Sikha, Rebbi Nachman, he answered and said, fortunate is one who merits to eat some chapters of Mishnah, and afterwards drink some prakim, some passages of Tehillim, of Psalms, and dress himself with some mitzvahs. Now, what this is really coming to teach us, there's many different things going on here. the main element on this very last part of the Sikha is that a person needs to take for himself. He needs to eat and drink whatever he possibly can to keep surviving. It's what we need. It's the only way forward. This is from the Tzaddik. This is from Rebbi Nachman. It's the way forward. It's the way to keep ourselves quenched and keep ourselves. If we can't look after our body, how's our mind going to be? If you don't eat all day, your stomach's rumbling. You're going to be able to concentrate on work. You're going to be able to do things. Not at all. Your mind is going to be. You're going to be focused on I'm so hungry. You can't work. You can't do nothing. So doing these things. Eating some chapters of Mishnahs, learning some chapters of Mishnahs, just reading the words without understanding, even that itself, and saying prakim of Tehillim, saying passages of Tehillim, just saying the words, just a simple act itself, and doing whatever good deed a person can do. This is in and of itself what gets a person through to the next world. And when we are lack and failing in any of these areas of service of God, then there is reason to run to the tzaddik, reason to run to a truly righteous person, and ask them, Rebbe, how can I help myself? What can I do? What can I do to clothe myself? How can I give myself that clothing? What is there? As long as a person isn't going to a tzaddik, isn't going to a truly righteous person, and he's only going off his own advice, the person is going to fall very far and he's going to lose his mind. And we see it a lot with a lot of people that have done such a thing. It's a very big avoid. It's a very big work to nullify oneself before tzaddik. And from these tutorials of how we're going to keep going until the final redemption, we're going to keep clothing ourselves. We're going to keep building our merits by just saying kama psukim, a few psukim of Tehillim, and reading some Mishnahs. A Mishnah, we know Mishnah is the same letters as Neshama. Mishnah is for the Neshama, it's for the soul. Tehillim is the expression of David HaMelech, of David the King. It's his yearnings, it's his conversations with God. These are things that just by when a person, you see, I'm a person that I don't necessarily know a whole lot, and I'm not necessarily the best learner, but what I do know and what I can know from the tzaddikim is that tzaddikim are extremely great, far beyond whatever we could possibly imagine of the tzaddik really being. It's a extremely lofty level for a person to be a tzaddik. It's a very big thing, and there's not many of us that are there, and we should all aim to be there. That is the goal for the world to come. That's where we should get to. Yeah, and just the being connected to a tzaddik, nullifying oneself, one's ego in front of the tzaddik, is only to help ourselves. It's the greatest thing we can do for ourselves, and it's what's going to get us through to the end of days. It's what will take us there. It's what will keep us there. And whenever one is falling, whenever one is lacking in something, so run to the tzaddik, run to the truly righteous, and ask for help, ask for the medicine. Get what we need to keep us going until we get to the end. And this is the advice that we can all use. we need to get ourselves to the end. We're almost there. Instead of losing your mind, instead of thinking, maybe I do need to jump onto what the rest of the world has jumped onto, and now there's this and there's that, and we can do all sorts of things, and we can go crazy. Us Jewish people, we're timeless people. We live above time. We are above time. Our whole existence is rooted in being above time. Being above time means that everything that has been with us, we have kept until this very day, and nothing will change until the end of time. We will not change. Nothing changes within the Torah, within anything to do with Yidden, until the end of time. Will a Jewish man wear a blue shirt? Maybe another Jewish man will wear some skinny jeans. Great, that's a personal choice of a person. As long as they're covered up, as long as they're sneers, as long as they're modest, then they're all right. There's basic premises for which we live that are going to keep us going till the end of time, and have kept us going until these very moments in which we're in. And so they should keep us going, and we should only know of the best of times, and the best of times are to come. And while we're in this state of lowliness and experiencing a confusion among all confusions, people's brains are being completely twisted around and changed to be involved in all sorts of worldly, temporal pleasures. It's sad to see. It is. It's a sign that we're getting closer, and with the help of heaven, we're going to be there. We're going to get there. We'll get there all together, with Hashem, and we should all just, even if we don't say one word of Mishnah, we don't even know what Mishnah is. Go to your local Orthodox rabbi, ask him for Mishnah. Go online, Sefaria. Anyway, get a Mishnah. Read the first. If you can read Hebrew, read the first line. If you can't read Hebrew, read the English. Read it. If you don't understand it, just know that it's doing something for you. It does something for us. I've personally felt this myself. I've gone through. We all have a part of us that we're just reading the words for what they are, and we get the spiritual elevation from it. And so it takes a certain level of emunah, very basic level of emunah, to go according to the tzaddikim, and to do this, and to know that as long as we're doing the most basic things we can possibly do, and we're holding on, that is the holding on. I can't repeat it more. That's the end of the sikha. That's the most important. That's the most important thing, is to hold on. How do we hold on? Read one word of Mishnah. If you haven't read a word of Mishnah in your life, you've done 1,000 sins that you wouldn't even go to your mother's house and look your mother in the face if she knew all the sins you had done. Just open up a Mishnah, Mishnayos. Open up Tehillim, Psalms. Read a few lines. Just say them. And perform good deeds. Do good things. Do good acts. Go extend beyond oneself. It's an exerted effort. It requires exertion. Every deed, good or bad. If you're going to do bad, you're going to exert yourself. At a rabbi, you should do good. On the other hand, you should do good. A person should do good. Should think to do good, and should aim to do the best they can, and to keep doing good. And these things will take us into Gan Eden, B'ezras Hashem.